Ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year. It's your SM Black Spider-Man, Karabum Lili. And wow, we are back with another episode so soon after the previous one. Can you believe this feels like old times? Man, I just want to firstly say hope that all of you are well. Hope the first few days of the year have been fruitful. And yeah, man, just praying God's blessings over all of you guys' life and all that jazz. And yeah, man, just really hoping and trusting for an amazing year for all of you. Can't wait to hear all about it. So yeah, guys, I think the point of this episode is if I have to retract to November of 2024, which is in hindsight not that far away, but it seems like a lifetime away. So I put out on my Instagram that I wanted to do a Q&A, and in the moment I was like so geared up to do it. I was going to do it in video. I was going to, do the whole YouTube thing, and I still will do those types of videos for sure. But I thought, in the interim, while I still have these questions, I didn't have much time, still on holiday, let me just do it as a podcast. I have the questions. It's still gonna be very cool. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put up the questions and everything, so things still feel, like engaging and all that jazz. But primarily, this is just a audio episode, but it's the same questions as previously asked before, and I want to try. The thing is, I'm not that influential and or famous enough to ask people for questions on a weekly basis. It's a really cool podcast by a wrestling podcaster named Chris Van Vliet. He's also like an entertainment journalist, but he's just such a brilliant interviewer, a brilliant journalist as well. And every week on his platform, he does Ask CVV, and his wife also contributes as well to the questions, which is quite cool. And they're usually not related to like what he does professionally. It's always just like, hey, what's your favorite vacation spot? What's your favorite thing to eat? And then a lot of the questions sure are vocational and about his interests and stuff. But I was like, maybe I can do something like that where just create a bit of a forum for dialogue and discussion, And it's questions that shouldn't be too serious, man. That's kind of what this is, but this is very much kind of geared up on photography, creativity, all that kind of stuff. So we'll see, man. We'll see I'll test the waters a bit. I'll see what the atmosphere is saying. But for the most part, I really just want to be able to just produce content for fun, man. Sometimes I think we get into this habit of only producing stuff when we know other people will like it, instead of just producing it because we like it, So yeah, the cover image for this is a photo of me on the beach on New Year's Eve. And when I tell you I was probably in the happiest state I've ever been, it's just something about raw beauty of mountains and the beach. And this is not me, advocating for Cape Town or anything like that. I love the city, but there's a lot about that part of the world that I dislike. But for the most part, I love it. I love going down for holiday, love the people there, my friends who are there. And for some reason, this time around, there was just like a real gratitude as I entered the year. So hopefully you see a bit of a smile on my face in this thumbnail. But to the questions, man, shout out to everyone who contributed. I don't want to, give everyone's names out, but because of Poppy Act, it's a real thing. But what I will do is, if you're watching this visually, I will just tag the people's handle in the question. So shout out to them. Shout out to everyone who contributed. Also, just good friends of mine, man. First question is, how do you keep the creative juices flowing? You know what, I think this is such a common question for a lot of us who are more creatively inclined, because oftentimes we reach moments in our life where we feel quite creatively stuck. And I do think that's normal, to be honest with you. I don't want to say that anyone is exempt from that feeling. Things to avoid it our tiredness, burnout, stress, just feeling overwhelmed. These are things that contribute to the creative juices kind of being stopped up. Man, it's just one of those things, bro. I think it's important for us to always keep our line of passion alive. And I can't speak for everyone, but for me, I thoroughly enjoy going to like art galleries, just to see a medium of art that is not my particular medium. So I can't draw to save my life, I can't paint to save my life, but I love looking at paintings and drawings and photography exhibits and sculptures and all this stuff. I get so inspired by other people's creative outlets. It's so beautiful, honestly. So that's one. Another way is that I just find ways to do things that really feed my joy. Like, I love going to coffee shops, having a good cup of coffee with some friends, close people in my life, having a really nice breakfast, going to church, man. I think that's something that for me fills me with a lot of joy, because I serve heavily in my church, and serving for me has just been something that fills me with joy. But I often say that, I would drop everything except barista duty. I will, if I had to choose only one thing to do at church for the rest of my life, and happily do it, it would just be to make coffee for people. I think that's just the best thing. So that kind of stuff keeps me going. And, I love learning, watching tutorials on YouTube, reading, being inspired by my friends, curating my social media to the point where I'm only seeing stuff that properly inspires me. So there's a few things that keep me going. Next question: besides people and food, what else do you love to shoot? This is a hot take that I'm about to drop on all of you. I actually don't enjoy shooting food at all. It's not really my thing. It's just because it's my job, and it's the vocation and all that. But I don't enjoy shooting food. And people, it's like 50-50. I like shooting people who are good in front of camera. And this is not to tune anyone who I don't think is good in front of camera, but like people who I don't need to direct. I'm very, because I don't really like directing people. I kind of like being very organic with photo shoots. But because I've never really done, now and then I do like very professional shoots, but oftentimes not really. But even when I do, it's working with like models who, like, as soon as they hear the shutter, they move positions. It's just simple things like that where you're just like, yes, like, this is what I like. And it just makes the shoot go so quick. But my absolute favorite thing to shoot is landscapes, nature, the ocean, mountains, kind of that mix of society and nature together. I think that's been my niche lately. I'm very inspired by a photographer named James Popsey, that's his kind of mantra. He loves shooting man-made objects in nature, and I've sort of adapted that style, and that's why I love street photography. I love that kind of mix of people and the city, or people walking on the beach or hiking, just small stuff like that, like society mixed with nature. I was talking to a friend, Julian, now in Cape Town, and I was saying to him, I like to shoot my style of photography is like almost like it's a frame out of a movie. I love shooting like it's like super cinematic type of photography, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I'll use like an 85mm indoors, or like a like it's like a 70-200 for like food photography, you know what I mean? I love doing stuff like that where you kind of allow for your creative mind to explore. I love like depth of field. If the lowest I can get to is 1.2, I will only shoot at 1.2, you know what I mean? Obviously restricts you at times, but for me it's just I just love that fall off, that focus fall off. So that is a reminder. I must pray. Let me go to this one. How do you do your teal and orange edits? That's a secret sauce, man. That one I think I'll need like a video to do, so I'll hold off on answering this one, but I'll do like a proper video on that. But I play around a lot with my temperature scale and my tint scale to kind of get those colors out, and then obviously in the HSL slider, up your oranges and your blues and your teals and stuff to kind of get that feel. But once you've kind of made an edit and you just use that as like a benchmark, I don't need to do that over and over again. I know certain photographers don't particularly like using presets, but I think when you've made one for yourself and then you use that as the basis, it's a game changer. What's more important, love or career? Most definitely love. I think simple answer. Career is important for sure. I think we mustn't be delusional. We have responsibilities as grown-ups, as people. We have dependents in our life that require us to support them. And, there's certain things that we need to do to make sure our lives aren't too stressful. God also gives us a brain as much as he provides, for sure. And he can miraculously provide in really, really tough moments. But for the most part, I think it's so important to keep love at the forefront of everything in your life. Loving God, loving people, and everything else will spill over from there. So most definitely love. What editing apps would you suggest starting off with? Great question. You know what? I think oftentimes people are like, oh, should I get Lightroom and stuff? I'm like, dude, Lightroom it's cool, but it's very technical for a beginner. Even though you can use a free version for sure, on your mobile. So I recommend Lightroom, it's for basic edits. But if you want to just kind of establish a style first, figure out the type of look and feel you like, use VSCO. I think VSCO is one of the best apps ever made. I still use VSCO. I mean, not as much as I do with Lightroom, but that was what got me started, man. My early Instagram pics, for the first 2-3 years, that was just VSCO, man. A9, oh, what a preset. So good. I love that desaturated style. I think that's why I still love it now. And pump it up with grain. I remember my friend Michaela once said to me, this my signature is the Garabo grain. I used to put 80% grain on my shots. Oh, I thought it was such a vibe. I still do. I still do think it's a vibe. Now I'm 30%. It's not that bad. But yeah, VSCO is the best. It's so good. If you could travel to any future one day, next question. If you could travel to the future for one day, what year would you like to experience? The future, man, I don't think I'd go too far. Maybe just 10 years from now. Just to be just to see what my life actually looks like. Am I married? Do I have a family? What's my job like? And just to see man, am I kind of on the right path? To be a bit dramatic, if I wanted to go maybe 50 years in the future, just to see how far humanity would have evolved. Are we in space? Are we... I'm a huge, for lack of a better word, nerd. I love Mass Effect, the game, games like Mass Effect and Star Wars, that whole universe. The Aliens series, Prometheus. I love movies and TV shows set in a really far future, and games where there's endless travel between universes. I think that's just the vibe. I really hope that how humanity eventually obviously I don't think I'll ever get close to even living in a society like that, but that'd be sick. Next question. I love your work. Thanks, Ben. How did you get into photography? Super interesting. I think my dear friend by the name of now Lindy Murray, but at the time Lindy Worley, went to high school together and subsequently church together, and her sister is a photographer. studied at tertiary, and was an amazing events photographer and just photographer in general and person. Shout out to Jana. And I think when Jana got a new camera, she gave the previous camera to Lindy. It was a 400D with a battery grip. I just remember it was such a bulky thing. Obviously, they couldn't do any video at the time. It was a purely DSLR camera. And Lindy was like, hey, do you want to, I'm trying out Jana's thing. Do you want to try it with me? I'm like, yeah, sick, let's go. And I kept it for like a little bit. And I was just like, I didn't have an SD card or anything like that. But I just loved like just taking photos with it. It just was the most beautiful thing. And I just fell in love. But I think really what got it for me, 2018, I went to the UK. And I think a week before I left, or maybe days before I left, I think it was days before I left, I got an iPhone 8 Plus. So this was at the time the flagship iPhone, and I was like, cool, I wanna make sure like I get it before I got it. And when I tell you the photos that I took with that, I mean, some are still on my Instagram now. Some of my favorite photos. The portrait mode, it was so good, man. And just that's what got it for me. And listen, it was easy to be in a European country, small English town where like the architecture is beautiful. You're right by the ocean. Taking photos is not a hard thing, It's not a difficult thing to do. But man, I just fell in love with that art form. And that was it, eh? So I just started shooting with that old 400D and my phone, and then it just grew from there. Yeah. Next question. What do you think is your purpose in life? Beautiful question. You know what? I think all of our collective purposes in life is to love God and love people. That is fundamentally our mission as human beings. I think our vehicle in which we achieve that changes for everyone. And so my purpose is to love God and love people. That's what my purpose is. But my particular mission, I think, is to help people feel seen and loved, create community for people. That's what I think I'm good at. I'm really relational. I love getting to know people, especially people who it's easy to get along with, I love a catch-up coffee, with people. Notice how none of this has anything to do with my work or my creativity. I don't think my purpose on earth is to be a photographer or to be a creative. I think that's just something that I'm gifted with, but it's not what I'm meant to be. That's not my mandate on earth, I personally believe. Yeah, that's what I think my purpose is. Next question by my dear friend Liam. If you could have a conversation with any designer, who would it be? I feel like we've had this convo in real life, Liam. Liam is an amazing architect and just an amazing friend. I think I said this. I think Virgil. Yeah, man. There's just something about a designer who not only just looks like me and was, R.I.P. Virgil, who made it to the pinnacle of fashion. And there's just something about that just really blows my mind. A kid who just started skating, making t-shirts, screen printing, and is now, or was then, the head of arguably the biggest fashion house, or at least one of the most well-known fashion houses in the world. I just think it's unbelievably good. And just the collaborations, with Mercedes, and all the album covers that he did. I mean, some better than others, for sure. But yeah, Virgil was one, Virgil Abloh. Another would probably be Thomas Heatherwick. And I think Liam would like me saying that. He's an outrageously talented and legendary architect who designed some of the most incredible buildings in the entire world. Just love to pick his brain on that kind of stuff, because they're so avant-garde and so different, but just beautiful. And I think the last one, not a designer, but a photographer. His name is Gordon Parks. Gordon Parks, he died ages ago, but I think Gordon Parks is the greatest photographer who's ever lived. I will die on that hill. He is the greatest photographer who has ever lived, Gordon Parks. Not only a film director, musician, a photographer, creative, all-round creative, but just captured the zeitgeist of the time during civil rights era America. I'm a historian, you know. I love researching things, and I just love that period in society, you know. For some reason, love in like a bittersweet kind of way. Love because it was the imagery and like, you know, I'm a huge Malcolm X guy, like kind of lean on his words. Love Martin Luther King Jr., of course. I mean, but if I had to choose between the two, I've always leant towards Malcolm. His style, his vibe, and also just the things he said just super resonated with me. You know, by any means necessary, we will find our freedom. And I'm just like, that's what I'm about, man. I'm not here to play games with people. I'm not here to make people feel good. Like, if you're doing wrong, you're doing wrong. You need to be called out on it, you know? I always say this at church, you know, my job is not to make you feel good. I'm here to tell you the truth, you know, and cause we do these team encouragements. Oftentimes people just like, you know, be like, oh, God loves you and blah, 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 which is all true. But at the same time, there's responsibility that comes along with being a follower of Jesus. And I've always kind of, that's been my mandate to like bring that out of people and like understand that when you say you love God, you can't be half at it, like, you know what I mean? Anyway, I'm not trying to think about that. Going back to Gordon, I just think the images he captured, some of the most beautiful images of all time. If you've watched the music video for Kendrick Lamar's Element, a lot of the shots are almost like for like recreations of Gordon Parks' photography. Obviously they're done more in video, but they're like the visual representation, the visual reference is Gordon Parks' imagery. Yeah, man, what an immense and just stunning human being to have lived. But yeah, those are probably the ones. Another one would be Liam Ulrich, because he's just such a good dude. That answer might change, you know, you never know. Next question by a fellow designer, Jade. What favorite Adobe app and why? I despise Adobe as a suite. I hate the subscription model so much. Like, I really dislike it. But to answer the question, probably Photoshop. I think Photoshop is what got me started. You can do so much with it. Not just edits, but you can do so much with Photoshop. I just think it's so amazing. Lately I've been using a lot of Illustrator, but yeah, Lightroom. Yeah, probably Photoshop, Illustrator, Lightroom. Those are I don't say favorite, they're the ones I use the most. Next question. What is something that pushes you as a photographer? Also by a fellow photographer, Joshua. What pushes me? I think just always just waiting for the right shot, you know, and just feeling like I'm just being in the moment, you know. I always carry my camera around, or at least I try to as often as I can, just because I don't want to miss a moment. So that's what pushes me. I don't want to miss the moment. Next one. Choose one. Canon, Nikon, Sony. The age-old question, the Holy Trinity, if you will. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe Hasselblad, Fuji. They have a bit of a say there. So between those three, let me just say this off the cuff. This question often is very difficult to answer because it's like asking someone, what new car should I get? All new cars are great. All new cars are amazing. All new cars have screens and CarPlay, you know, automatic and great fuel economy. It's just at that point, it doesn't matter what car you get. It's really just about what brand do I like the most. You know, what keys do I want on my table? Do I want a BMW or do I want a Kia or a VW? Doesn't really matter. I think they all fundamentally do the same thing and they do it really well, especially in new cars. So with cameras, it's the same. Like cameras are like cars. They're all good. All of them are good. And fundamentally it just comes down to what user interface you like and enjoy. I prefer Sony, so I'm going to say Sony out of this. But I think if you enjoy, like, there's so many Canons that I could definitely recommend, you know, like the R6, the R5 are brilliant. Like, they're so good. The R3, the R1, I mean, those are insane. Sony, I mean, the A7 III, A7 IV, A7 R5, A1, A9, like these are all great cameras. The Nikon Z9, also fantastic camera. The Z6, fantastic camera. Even if you're going a bit older, like the Canon, like even the 5D, man, still holds up so well. I personally always lean towards mirrorless. I think DSLRs, as good as they are, I'm not really like a fan anymore. So to answer your question, Sony, but genuinely, all of them are great. My young man, Bokamaso, how do you find the right shot? I just wait, man. I'm patient enough to just wait. When I'm walking, I see a scene with my eyes, and I just wait for that right person to come in frame, or the right lighting. If it's sunset, you just have to wait for it, man. My dear friend, Krista. Next question. The next 3 are actually from her. Before you get the shot, what planning goes into the process? So it depends on the type of shoot. Obviously, if it's a client shoot, you obviously have to do shot lists, mood boards, just so client and you kind of know the tone that you want to achieve. And the shots that you want to achieve, so you're not just like randomly shooting stuff. But when it's like, I'm just going out and seeing what the world is, I don't really plan. I'm just kind of like in the moment. But definitely, if it's a very, very specific thing you're looking to do, just always like, I think a shot list, even if it's just rudimentary, like we're doing 5 shots, we just need to get this, and this, and then at least you know in your head, don't veer away off the shot list. Anything else is a bonus, but as long as you get your key shots, you're good. Best disposable camera, 1 cheapie and 1 expensive V. Best disposable camera. So I don't know the names, but Kodak does those like the ones that we had when we were kids, like you reel them up. I still see them on Takealot. I think you just search disposable film camera and they come up. A more expensive one, then you're actually looking for like a proper film camera. I mean, you're definitely spending at least 1.5 up. The Canon AE1 is brilliant. It's the one I have. The Nikon F2, F3, fantastic. The GOAT, the Contax T2, but that's very expensive. But yeah, I mean, I think any film ones, but those are the ones I'd recommend. Next one, how do you get yourself out of a creative slump? I think going back to the earlier question where it's just doing things that fill me with joy. And I think it's also important to put your tool down, put your camera down, put your laptop away, put your brush away. Take a couple of days to not pressure yourself with needing to create, and just kind of enjoy life, rest, hang out with friends. Don't take out the camera. Just be in the moment, Don't think about the paintbrush. Just take a few days, spend time with your family, your friends, watch a TV show, take a walk. Walks are so great, man. Walks and runs, man. Oh, brilliant. But for me, man, a nice cup of coffee always does it, eh? Next question. These are all my dear friends, but, my dear friend. Jeffrey Mahachi, excuse me while I take a swig of water. We're back. How do I get my photos of colors like yours? Again, I think I'm going to have to go and do a video on YouTube, but like I said, play around with your temperature, your tint, push up those blues and those greens, man, and a ton of grain. It's a vibe. I think these are the last few, hey? I believe so, yeah. No, that's it. Actually, that's it. That was the last question. Shout out, guys. Sorry that this hasn't been like a proper like video. That will come. But I hope you enjoy it, just kind of hearing some of your questions and me picking your guys' brain. And I really want to do more things like this. And even if you don't want to hear stuff about creativity, you just want to hear like, what's my favorite movie and why? It's Viva Vendetta, but I don't want to explain why just yet until someone asks me. what's my favorite vacation spot? Locally, Cape Town. But honestly, anywhere near the ocean. Genuinely, anywhere near the ocean. But I do love CPT, man. I do love Western Cape. Abroad, London, Dubai, these are cool places, These are great places. Been a couple of times. Love them. Yeah, man. So hope you all are well. Hope this is a great year. And yeah, hopefully these kind of Q&A type series videos and podcasts will be a bit more frequent. We'll definitely set some time to do them. And it was fun, man. This is cool. I enjoy thinking like this, it's very early in the morning right now. It's like 9:30 right now a.m. Yeah, it's nice to kind of get my thoughts going. So I appreciate everyone who contributed. Apologies it took so long, but yeah, y'all are amazing. It's the boy. It's the Resin Black Spider-Man. Karam Lili. Peace out.